Welcome back to another video. Hope you guys are doing very well. Merry Christmas and have a lovely new year. Let's all start this new year very strongly with high hopes, lots of optimism. It's going to be great. We're going to smash it. So in terms of my YouTube videos, I want to really dive more into the content and really go a bit deep with it. It's actually quite a cool hobby to have. Despite how much I stutter, you will not believe how painful it is to edit these videos. But I love this. This is actually really fun. So more to come. I hope you guys enjoy the content, and if you really do, I'd really appreciate a like and a sub. Anyway, enough of the yapping. Let's touch on the subject that I want to point to today because I think it's, again, very relevant. The idea of consumerism. Now this is a broad term, so you can define it in quite a few ways. I want to touch on more of the cultural phenomenon of it all. Cultural consumerism is something we do without fail every single day, and not many people in this day and age don't. It impacts how we think and how we go about our lives, and how we even talk, how we work, and how we perform. Quite interestingly actually, because it's a very effective thing. An example of this straight away is technology, specifically social media. The constant release of phones and buying new phones every single year. Wanting to get the latest everything. Wanting to be in touch with what everyone's doing, every celebrity, all your friends. Comparison. We will subconsciously compare so much the more we consume socially. We can centralize a lot of these cultural gigs to our very own personality and identity, therefore our success and our happiness. Almost wanting to fill a void that you might not even be aware that you need to fill in order to be conscious, be happy. The idea is that we're not realizing that keeping up with technology and social pressure and demands, we are convincing ourselves that this is making us happy. But what we then realize is it's actually an extremely temporary process. It's a short-term release, and sometimes it can lead us to buying, consuming, but we're constantly seeking something in order to become a version of ourselves we want to be, but it never works. It's not the right way, because consuming things, filling voids, doesn't define our purpose and identity in the long run. What does define your identity and your purpose is how you are as a person, and what your morals are, what your etiquette is, how you communicate with others, what you do for other people, how understanding you are, what actions you take instead of speaking. New upgrades, new clothing, new technology, money. It's a materialistic ideology. And it creates this almost never-ending cycle of wanting more to be satisfied, but it always will lead to dissatisfaction. So cultural consumerism, in terms of me just describing this, just using the top of the brain, is taking in more often than not a lot of useless information for you personally into your day-to-day life and experiences, with TV, newspapers, magazines and phones being a prime example of that. This will be more prominent in industrialized nations like the UK and the US, for example, and it shapes your lifestyle, promotes that materialism, and we convince ourselves that it becomes central to our identity and our social status. It's all driven by almost an impulsive and reckless desire and comparison. Cliche but very true, comparison is the thief of joy. We are constantly comparing our lives to others all the time, especially on social media platforms such as Instagram. When you see your friends doing other things, we see celebrities doing one thing, we are trying to base our identity off of others and trying to envision an ideal self based upon what you're seeing and based upon what you're consuming, and this isn't healthy in the long run. On the social sides of things, it can fuel inequality, and you unfortunately then, in all of this, get a lot of dissatisfaction in yourself when you see something that you want, what you think would make you happy. But often more than not, you're convincing yourself this. What makes you happy is always subjective to yourself, not based upon what the culture is telling you, through marketing, through ideal false imagery, through false identities of other people. More often than not, we have to remember that on a phone things are very altered sometimes, and it makes us forget who we really are, that we should love ourselves for who we are and what we want, and it makes us forget what we want because we're so almost brainwashed and tied down to what the world is doing and what people that you more often than not don't even really know are doing. But is this really something you want to do? Is this a path you want to go down just to fulfill a need that you think is there but it isn't? You'll constantly be dissatisfied, and there's going to be a destructive cycle. Remember your morals, your identity, how you were brought up, what values you hold and what you were taught by your parents and teachers. Reassess your life based upon you as a person rather than what you see online and what you consume daily. Think from a non-biased, non-consuming perspective. Just go off you. Let's make another point. To sort of counteract what I've been saying here about consuming not being the best thing to do as a person in terms of your morals, what I'm primarily talking about here is the idea of almost irrationally over-consuming. Of course, living in the Western world, for example, most of you watching this video probably are in the Western world. Consumerism is part of our day-to-day lives. I do it all the time. It is so drawn into our society now. It is something you'll see every single day. But we overlook it because it's so culturally normal now. There's a line. You are able to remain healthy and remember who you are whilst also still consuming culture. An example of that might be knowing what you want to do and knowing who your friends are, a lot of love for people and being a very, very friendly person, driven by good morals, good etiquette growing up, you have drives, you have motivation, and you try every day. You can still want to consume things in order to feel something, in order to get ideas potentially. A lot of our ideas can be gained through consuming culture, in order to maybe create something else. Because this is the thing, another point to this is that creating culture is such a good thing to do. Us being born into this sort of world allows us to have ideas and motivations to create something else. This is why there's such a large playing field to consume, because lots of people create. Be that person that creates. Creation is amazing, it's expression. Allow yourself to admit your ideas outwardly. Discover something about yourself, and that will create identity. However, irrational cultural consumerism is the thing I'm talking about. This is when you consume without emitting anything out. And you're just constantly driven by other people's lifestyles and the next best thing. It's just a destructive cycle that will leave you not knowing who you are. Remember who you are. Remember what you stand for. Pull yourself out of that almost black hole of doubt, insecurity, judgment. Make you feel like you're low on status. Be the change that you want to see. Don't let yourself be drifted along by a wave. Be the wave. I think that's what I'm going to say. You know, these topics are quite big as well. This is a huge topic to talk about today. Hopefully this helps. Thanks for watching.